Good morning. Hello, MD. Good to see you, sir. How are you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. Talented Dev, hello. Good to see you. Thanks for being a member. It is going well. Although boss man, I am not, but it is indeed going well. I hope you're doing well, sir. Hello, Komodo. Komodo Swag Dragon. Are you bringing the swag today? I hope so. I hope the swag is swagging. All right, let's see. I have to do some housekeeping. Always. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm glad, man. I'm glad you're here. Sorry, it's my way of showing respect. Sorry if you don't like it. Oh no, it's not that I don't like it. No, I was just I was just making a comment. It's totally fine, man. You can call me boss, man. Let's see, .NET. We need to update our Twitch subscribers. And then we also need to update our list of YouTube members. I actually don't know if we got any new YouTube members, but it's good to keep that list up to date. Yes, sir. Okay, yes, sir. I've been working my ass off a lot. Well, that's good, man. I'm glad. I hope it's all like good working your ass off. I hope it's not like your boss is riding you and is forcing you to work your ass off. You know what I mean? I hope it's voluntarily working your ass off. Hello, the owner of bread. How are you doing? How goes life? Goodness gracious. All right, then we have to do .NET, YouTube. Okay. And then we got to do one quick reset here. Twitch. Laugh my ass off. No, I'm technically my own boss. I'm a head engineer for space and defense. Oh shit, dude, that's awesome. That's super cool. Also sounds very not high pressure, but high stakes. Like seems like you have to really be on top of your shit. Sorry you missed the last stream. Oh, don't ever be sorry, man. I mean, if you guys miss streams because you're doing stuff, right? You're having a life and you're living your life, and I mean, that's dude. All this stuff is fun. Like the internet's fun and everything, but it's not real life, right? So if you miss a stream, totally fine. No apology needed. But I'm glad you're here. You know, like I'm glad when you guys are here, but I never want you to feel like you need to be here. Okay, I think I finally got all my housekeeping stuff done. We got the Twitch running, we've got the YouTubes running, got the list updated, Melt Studios firing, chats chatting. I think we're all square. Okay, we're all square. I love the work you do, especially when you say develop a lot of programs to have under your belt. Yeah, for sure. That's the only way. I mean, that's the only way I feel like, that's how everything I've ever been successful in life has been. Like, how did I get good at being a personal trainer? I trained a shit ton of clients. How did I get good at tackling in football? I tackled a shit ton of people, right? Like, it's reps, right? I mean, at some point, like, at some point there is some education to it. Like somebody has to teach you the basics and the fundamentals, but then after a certain point, it's just honing those skills until they're like second nature. Yeah, I'm glad that resonates with you. That tells me we are similar folk. Thunder Deer, I'm head engineer of my own head sometimes. Well, the only thing I'm a head engineer of is my little software fiefdom that I have on my computer. That's about the only thing I'm a head engineer of, which is probably good. It's probably a good thing. I was building my antenna gun. What's an antenna gun? That sounds interesting. Thunder Deer, send him a job offer. Uh, and it's always good to make mistakes, to learn from your mistakes and to improve. Exactly. Yeah. Failure. You have to embrace failure, right? Failure is a part of the learning process. When I was personal training, I used to tell clients, people always talk about folks like trying to lose weight and failing, and they always talk about that in such dark terms, like as if it's like a letdown or a failure. But a counterfactual to attempted weight loss is that most people who attempt to quit smoking have to try 8 times before they're successful on average, right? So what that tells you is that failing is a part of the process. That failure is not an end result. Failure is about you attempting something, not having all the information or all the skills necessary to succeed at it, but learning through that attempt. And so then you keep attempting and you keep attempting and you bring your learnings from the previous attempt into the next attempt. And so the same thing goes for quitting smoking, for losing weight, for whatever behavior change or whatever thing you're trying to accomplish. Like that's the whole game, right? That's the whole game. It's a pinpoint force antenna. So what does a pinpoint force antenna do? I've never heard of this. This is news to me. I learned that a lot during my master's in computer science. There you go. We are always hiring for smart software developers. Nice. Well, that's good. I'll keep that in mind. I really like the company I'm at now. I really like the team I work with, and I kind of have my perfect balance, my perfect work-life balance. I get all the wonderful things of being a part of software development at work, and then I get to do all the software development I want on my own stuff in my free time. It's a nice balance at the moment. Yeah, I mean, whenever you have a job that you actually like and people that you like to work with, I mean, so it's just a huge blessing, right? Huge blessing. Hey, Omanian, holding it down on Twitch as per the usual. Thanks for doing that, man. Good to see you. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. I definitely didn't switch to Arch Linux on my laptop. Totally not. That was the most low-key way anybody's ever said I use Arch, by the way. But I respect that. I mean, I respect the low-key approach. I hope you're enjoying it over there in Archland.
Did we just become best friends?
Thank you, Energy Star, for the follow. Really appreciate that. Super kind of you. Okay, this is not where we were. We were functions, I think is where we were. Yeah, we were doing functions. So I think today what we'll try to do is I'd like to try to get to this section of understanding ownership. I'd like to try to get to that because that came up a couple times yesterday when we were building on our app. And while I sort of kind of understand it, like I think from an intuitive perspective, I'm starting to understand it. I don't really, right? Like I can't really explain it. I might even make a YouTube video about this once I read some about it, because I feel like the best way to really grok something is to try to communicate it to other people. I think that'll be the plan today. So if we can speed run these next few sections, I think that will be useful. Well, it's definitely smoother, so that's a good thing. Yeah, that's always a good thing, man. Yeah, I just want you guys to use tools and OSs, and I want you guys to fill your life full of delightful, joyful experiences, right? Whether it's with your kids or your wife or your partner, or if it's just using the operating system to do your work, right? I want you guys to use the tools that you enjoy and make you want to do more of the things you like to do. Speaking of doing some prep to start a 45-day challenge of development on a low-end Chrome OS laptop. Wow. So does that mean you're going to build a Chrome OS like you're going to Oh no, you're going to develop on a low-end. Okay. Very cool. So what's the 45-day challenge? Just like be consistent for 45 days, like do an hour every day or something? Thunder Deer, I've been running the same Arch install for 8 years now. Commented on some video of a guy that broke his install. I've never had any big issues. Huh. Interesting. It's always interesting to see that. Like some folks just get unlucky, right? It's always terrible to hear that from somebody. In 10 years of doing this, I've never seen this before. In 20 years of doing this, that's always a really bad comment to hear from a subject matter expert. What did I miss yesterday? You didn't really miss much. We read this book a little bit, like we went through the section on variables, and then in our application that we're building, we actually added some. What did we do yesterday? I think we added. I guess I can look at the Git log. Hopefully that tells me something. Camel case? Yes, camel case. I like camel case. Although in Rust, I guess the preference is snake case for things, not camel case. Let's do git log. What did we do? Oh, yeah, we implemented the ability to reset our font size, and we started working on like a tabbed UI experience. So I can show it to you. Hold on. Give me a sec to demo this. I prefer Pascal case. I mean, I prefer Pascal case too, but the idiomatic Rust way is to use snake case, so I just try to adapt myself to whatever language I'm learning or writing. Owner of Bread, I still don't understand what a two-way pinpoint antenna is. I would love to chat with you more about that, but I don't know what that means. Uh-oh, what's happening here? Field has no... Oh, whoops. That's because I made a change yesterday. And I feel like everything's being kind of slow. Yeah, definitely something's being slow. I use don't care case. I'll write how I feel that day. I mean, that's one way to approach it, but honestly, the problem with that is the whole idea behind having kind of following a certain set of standards or preferences is just to make it easier for folks who are typically writing that language, right, to read and write the code you're authoring. I don't really like when a language dictates how I should write, not in the syntax way, obviously, but the tabs or spaces and the project structure. That's why I don't like Go before. Yeah, I mean, Go is very opinionated. Go gives you basically no options. You know? Go's like, this is how you're going to do it. I don't know. I see the benefit. There are definitely, like in C sharp, there are definitely preferences I have, and I always set those up on every project. So I understand having your own stylistic choices, but I also understand the idea of like, let's not waste any time debating or discussing how something should be properly formatted. Let's just do the work, right? And we'll take care of linting and formatting for you. So I see both sides. All right, so this was the feature we added yesterday. So we started basically trying to work on like a button UI. So or yeah, a button UI or tab UI. So we'll be able to have a list of files in our kind of state that will display at the top, and people will be able to switch between those buttons, and we will display the contents of those files in the editor. So this, I deleted that file yesterday, and it's hard coded right now. So let me just say hello, save it, and we'll click that again, and it brings it back. So that was the thing we added yesterday. We still have more work to do there. And then we also added the ability to reset the font. So now you can do Control O, and that will reset the font for you. There's also all the font size change stuff can be done through a menu. So that's what we did yesterday. So you didn't really miss much yesterday, Ilmanian. It was a pretty low-key day. But we're slowly making progress. Slowly but surely. What are your plans for today? So I think the plans for the day is to keep reading that Rust programming language book a little bit. I'd like to brush up on ownership. And then maybe in that application, I'd like to continue to get the tabbed navigation to work. Like truly work. Right now it's just kind of pseudo working. I have some paths hard coded in there for just testing and experimentation. But I'd like to actually get that working to where I can open up arbitrary number of files in the program and close them, close the tabs, use them to navigate between the different files that I have open in the state of the editor. So that's probably what we'll work on today. I've grown to like Go anyway, but my style is fairly close to the Go way. Yeah, I mean, I don't even have a Go style. I just write it the way, you know. Is Python a good language to learn for starting programming? Yeah, everybody always says it is. I typically recommend JavaScript, and the only reason I recommend JavaScript over Python is because JavaScript gives you access to the web to build things for a client, like right out of the box. And then JavaScript can also be used to build things on the server. So almost immediately, if you know that single language, you can pretty much build just about anything that comes to mind from a software perspective. And that's really, I think, empowering, right? To be able to just know a single language and tear into building some software that you can actually ship to people that they will actually use and get use out of. I think that's a really empowering thing and really encouraging thing for your journey to continue learning how to build software. But that's just me. I don't think there's anything wrong with Python though as a first language. What do you think is the dumbest code? What do I think is the dumbest code? I don't know. I don't know if there's really. I mean, I'm sure there's dumb code. I guess the code that I would think is dumb is code that's unnecessary, maybe code that you added because you think you might need it, but you honestly won't ever need it, right? Like if I went into a code base and found 4 or 5 methods that have 0 references throughout the code base, it's like, yeah, that was kind of dumb. I'm sure somebody was in the process of implementing. It was like, oh, this sounds like a nice handy utility thing. Let me add that on there. I think that's probably kind of you could consider dumb code. I think it's always I'm always slow to judge though to judge code or judge other people's code just because I know from my own experience that a lot of the times when I write code it makes 100% sense to me in the moment why I did what I did, but to somebody else coming in net new without any context of the problem, it might look dumb. So I always am slow to judge without really truly understanding the entire picture. I always my default assumption is always there's a reason why they did it that way. That's always my default assumption, and I just don't understand that reason. Anime world, thanks for your advice. Of course, yeah, I'm always happy to. I don't know if my advice is good. I don't know if it's the right advice, but it's definitely my advice. I think JavaScript. I'm gonna switch over to chatting for a second here since we're having some good chats. Uh, I think JavaScript is the better way to do it too, but depends on what you want to do right away. If you don't know, if you don't know, go with JS. If you know what you want, use the common language for that thing. That's great advice, Thunder Deer. Yeah, I love that advice. I think so much of our decisions in life have to be framed in some sort of context. Like what are you trying to get done, right? Because that kind of determines. Makes me think of that Alice in Wonderland quote. Um, like Alice is talking, I think, to the Cheshire Cat, and she's saying something like, "Which way should I go?" Right, and then the Cheshire Cat's response is, "Well, where are you trying to get to?" And Alice is kind of like, "I don't really know where I'm trying to get to." And then the Cheshire Cat's response is just the most perfect thing because he says, "Well, then I guess it doesn't matter much which way you go." Right? So I think there's something to that, right? You've got to sort of frame it in what you want to accomplish. Yeah. So if you want to be a machine learning engineer, right, probably Python would be a better first choice. If you want to be kind of an all-purpose full stack web developer, maybe JavaScript's the right choice. Curly Potato, long time no see, man. How is it? It's going well over here. How's it going with you? Good morning, Danny. Good morning, good morning. Also, I saw we have some sort of Twitch event, 5 stream streak. Well, Max Dev Mastery, thanks for hanging out for 5 streams. I don't know why that didn't show up in my chat, but thank you very much for sticking around, man. Nat, I think I'm just gonna call you Nat. In your opinion, in any language, what's the minimum amount of knowledge or concept a junior dev should have to get hired? Could be any language, just the bare minimum. Like if you can't do this. I think probably bare minimum would be you know how to define functions, you know how to define variables, you understand scope, you understand how to split code into separate classes, modules, packages, whatever, however that particular language organizes code, you understand how to do that. You understand how to do testing in that particular language for the different types of tests that you might need to write. You know how to do unit testing, integration testing, end-to-end testing. What else? Yeah, I think that'd be kind of at least bare minimum, right? Like you understand the very basics of the syntax and you can build up programs with that syntax and you understand how to organize code in separate files or in separate modules to help keep things well structured or well organized. I don't know if I'd add anything else to it. I mean, I think that the hard thing with a bare minimum is it's so, it's not like, like doctors have boards and a lot of industries have certifications, right? They have like industry-wide standards. And software engineering doesn't really have anything like that, which makes most people's opinion on this particular question very subjective. And it changes from person to person. Like everyone's got a different bar that they hold different people to, which makes it really difficult to like give a hard and fast answer. The litmus test I always use for myself is, do I know a language well enough that if I was to do a freelance job, I feel competent that I could execute that freelance job with that language, right? So if I was running a software consultancy and someone came to me and said, I want to build XYZ thing, do I feel confident I could implement it in that language? That's usually a good litmus test for me to say, am I comfortable or do I know that language well enough to say I can work professionally in it. That's kind of my go-to. Max Dev Mastery. It's Monday, so it is Monday. Yeah, it's Monday, man. Another week. Shia Pudo, Pudale. I'm just gonna call you Shyam, Sham. I don't know. I'm butchering your username, and I apologize. Why are you learning Rust? Cause Bob Knoll, one of my chatters, peer pressured me into do it. One of my YouTube members peer pressured me into doing it. No, not that's not really why. I've never written any low-level languages before, and so last year I kind of picked between Rust and Zig, and I picked Rust. And last year I false started learning it twice, I think. Like I got through a Pluralsight course, and then I also read like partway through the Rust programming language book, and I just kind of stalled both times. And so at the beginning of last week, we were just kind of kicking around what we should do next on stream, and learning Rust came up as something people were interested in. So that's why. I know, it's very academic, but that's why. Curly potato going well on my lunch break right now. Very cool. Well, I'm glad we can keep you company on your lunch break. I hope it makes the lunch break feel longer. The owner of bread. What I meant is, what's the dumbest coding language? Oh, the dumbest coding language. I don't know. Probably one of those toy programming languages. Like I appreciate the toy programming languages like Brainfuck and Rockstar and all them, but those are probably the dumbest because people just built them for the fun of them, you know? But I think most other programming languages exist because they were serving a particular need at the particular time someone brought them to life. So I don't. Again, it's like I hate to judge a thing that somebody made because I'm sure there's a good reason they made it, and I just don't know that reason. So I try not to be super judgmental about things as being good, bad, dumb. Very difficult to judge what the minimum requirements are. I think today it's like a PhD in CS. Well, I would not pass because I do not have a PhD in computer science. I don't think I would pass for a lot of people's definition, probably, of what an engineer should be, and that's okay. From what I've seen with Zig learning docs in past 3 days, Rust was a good choice. Okay, well, I heard a lot people say a lot of good things about Zig, and I heard people talk a lot about Rust. So that's why I put those two on my low level list. And I didn't put C on my low level list just because it seems like there's newer languages that might be more interesting. At some point, maybe I'll take a C side quest, but right now I don't have any intention to. Would you approach learning programming the way you are doing currently if you were to start again? Like no job pressure? Uh yeah, probably. I mean, I think it's pretty crazy that people like quit their job to learn to code and then they then go and try to get a job after that. In my opinion, that just seems wholly irresponsible and risky. I think it's much better to just maintain a job with whatever skills you have. Like if you're wanting to make a job change or career switch, I think it'd be a much better execution to keep the job you have, learn to program in your spare time, and then start your job hunt whenever you feel ready. And then don't quit your existing job until you get the next job. So I guess that would be my approach, right? I wouldn't try to. I just don't think that's a good idea. Like financially, it seems like a very financially irresponsible thing. I don't think there's any dumb programming language. All tools have trade-offs, and we can use each for their best position. Yes, most things should be about fitting the tool to the job. Yeah, not the other way around. Visual Basic? I don't know. People talk very highly about Visual Basic. There's a couple guys I work with at work that I guess, in their early parts of their career, did a lot of programming in Visual Basic, and they talk very, very highly about that experience or that time in their development journey where they were just building business lines of business. What's the term? A line of business application in Visual Basic that would just run on people's desktop machines. They basically, the gist I get from their nostalgia is it just seemed like it was simpler times in software development. Most people don't know the difference between computer science and software engineer. I guess the way I would probably think of it, Almani, is kind of like you're comparing the difference between a welder and like a mechanical engineer, like, or maybe maybe even more apt would be like a mechanical engineer and like a physicist or something like that. Like one is very theoretical and academic, and another is very like grounded in the actual work. Like applied science versus theoretical science. I think the Zig metaprogramming is really good. Yeah, I don't think I've done much with metaprogramming. In Rust, that's kind of like macros, right? The ability to almost like extend the language in a way. Or is how I understand it currently. I might be completely wrong there, so feel free to correct me. The book on Zig they have currently on the site is out of date because it's made about the current dev version of the language and not the stable release. Ooh, that's painful. So you're having to basically try to learn Zig, but figure out which portions of the docs are wrong through trial and error. Wonderful. Wonderful. That sounds like peak learning experience. Let's peer pressure him into learning brainfuck. No, man, no amount of peer pressure could get me to do that. Yeah, it was really popular for desktop apps and so simple to use, and which I think people overlook that, man. They overlook the value of simplicity. Cyberlinka, did you take any precautions to avoid falling into bad time wasting habits like gaming, porn, etc. in your career? I still game. The thing is, I game. Porn's never really been an issue for me. But definitely I still game. I've never had an issue with being able to set goals, focus on those goals, and achieve those goals. I've just never. That's never like. Yeah, it's never been an issue, right? Like I wanted to be an all-state football player in high school, and I was first team all-state. Won defensive player of the year. In academics, I wanted to get scholarships to college. I got scholarships to college. Got into the honors program at my university. I wanted to be certified as a personal trainer. I did all that stuff like through my own desires, like setting the goals myself and then doing the things necessary to achieve those goals. I've just never had an issue with that. I don't know if that's because of the way I was raised, my parents, my wiring, I don't know what, but I'm pretty good at setting goals and then focusing until those goals are accomplished. Why do people say Python is bad for web dev? Always say they learn JS first. I don't think Python's necessarily bad for web dev, but Python's more about the back end side of web development, where learning JavaScript kind of kills two birds with one stone, where you get really good at doing things on the client, or you get to you obtain ability to do interactive things on the client, and then you also have a language now you can also leverage on the back end. So I think it's more about learning JavaScript gives you efficiency, maybe efficiency and time spent, probably. I mean, I think that's why the Mern stack was so popular, right? Especially kind of in the late 2010s, early 2020s. The Mern, because you could basically learn one language and you know how to interact with a database, you know how to build APIs, you know how to build front ends without needing to know a second language or have competency in a second language. Have a good sleep, the owner of bread. Hope you have a good sleep, man. Thanks for coming by and saying hi. Appreciate you. Dude, that's a really personal question. Laugh my fucking ass off. I'm pretty much an open book, man. I mean, I'm just a normal dude. I'm a normal dude in Kansas, raising a family, trying to maintain a career. So I'm pretty much an open book on most things. JS is compiled, isn't it? Not as I understand it. As I understand it, JavaScript is interpreted, right? Same thing with Python. Some people would say TypeScript is compiled, but is it really compiled? Or it's more like transpiled, right? It's like TypeScript is translated, the TypeScript compiler translates JavaScript or TypeScript into JavaScript, and then that JavaScript is run by another programmer or another program. See you, Almanian. Have a good day, man. Appreciate you hanging out. Curly potato. I personally don't think there are any time wasters. I think it's ways for you to relax after hard work. I think it can be a problem if you don't have the discipline to stop. And that, for me, are two very different things. Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't think any of those activities that Cyberlinka mentioned are inherently like time waste or like inherently bad. But you're right. If you do anything to the point where it prevents you from being a functional human being, right? That's an issue. Or if it obstructs you from accomplishing the things you want to accomplish, then those things probably are not good for you. Sorry, I was trying to peel an orange and it just went terribly, terribly wrong. Super, super messy. Hold on one sec. I gotta clean up all this. Thunder Deer, it's both. It compiles what is needed. I don't think JavaScript's compiled at all, Thunder Deer. I don't think that's like true. Right? JavaScript source code is not compiled. It's interpreted. Python is my baby. Nice. I love it. School ended early today, plus you are streaming. Life is too good. Well, good to see you, Abdul. I love that you got out of school early, and I love that you're enjoying the streams. So welcome. Just in time compiled. While Python can be compiled using Cython, for example, many of libraries are compiled C, C++. I don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're playing semantics, but like the way I think about most languages is compiled versus interpreted, and so JavaScript and Python fall into the in my worldview fall into the interpreted camp. I would not ever say Python is I got to compile my Python code. I would never say that. Or I would never say I've got to compile my JavaScript code. I wouldn't use those words like that myself. Nah, that is half bad, not gonna lie. Specifically the last part, not good for your brain, bro. Are you talking about porn? Porn's not good for your brain? Well, that was true about half of humanity. Should be really fucked up. I mean, majority of the traffic on the internet, I think, is still porn. So there's a lot of people that are imbibing that, but they want to pretend like they're not. Which is the human condition, man. The human condition is just complete hypocrisy and shame for most of the things we do. I mean, there's still a compilation either way. It's just a different compilation. Python is useless without NumPy. Yeah, NumPy. What are the big libraries? NumPy, Scikit, MATLAB, or MATLib. There's another one I'm thinking of that I can't remember off the top of my head. There's like 3 or 4, right, that are really big in kind of the data sciencey world. The interpreter compiles the code, so you don't have to. It is a performance strategy. But yeah, generally it's interpreted. I mean, that's fine. I mean, like we can play the game of semantics all we want, but in my vernacular, JavaScript and Python are interpreted languages. Just use Python instead of Bash scripts. I personally, if I can write a JavaScript script or a C# script, I would much rather write those than use Bash or PowerShell, right? Like I would much rather write my scripts in one of the languages that I really enjoy than try to use PowerShell or Bash. I mean, I get it. That's already there baked into the OS, so sometimes it's nice just to use those. But if I can get away with it, I'll just write a simple JavaScript script. Parker Woods, you're right. When you compile something, you end up with a binary file. When you run an interpreted language, you can inspect the code you're running in the file you're running. Exactly. So Parker Wood, that's how I think of it. Again, like if people want to use different, if people want to be like, well, actually, if people want to pull one of those on me, actually, that's fine. But that's just not how I think about it or talk about it with other people. Hey, Mark, what's up, man? How are you? Oblivious. Hello. How are you? Good to see you, Oblivious. Glad you're here. Energy Shar. And it will shine. Am I going to fight Abdul? No, no one's going to fight. Guys, everyone, get in your corners. Separate. Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, Node.js. Yeah, Python's fine. JavaScript and TypeScript is great. Node is great. Yeah. I'm not super dogmatic about any of it. Thunder Deer. Actually, yeah, that's right. My oldest son, he likes to actually people quite a bit. Like he'll be like, actually, that's not right. And my youngest son the other day takes his middle finger and goes, actually. And I was like, man, what a great personality. I told him, I was like, if you're gonna do that to people, you better be able to fight a little bit, because somebody's gonna take issue with your your smart assness. Now it's like a family thing. Whenever somebody pulls the actually card on you, now we just flip each other off. If you want to know what my family's like, there there you go. There's a window into our world. All the languages suck in their own way. Some of them just more than others. Yeah, what is it? I think the Primogen talks about that quite a bit. How all programming languages are mid. Mark, I'm fine, thank you, but I'm more interested in the progress of the application you're making. Well, we haven't done anything in the first 45 minutes of the stream other than chat, so no progress. No progress has been made. And before we work on the application, we're gonna try to make a little bit of progress on learning or reading about Rust or learning about Rust. And he does make good points about it. Oh yeah, the Primogen makes great points. I'm a big fan. Big fan. In Python, there are so many variable leaks. I can't imagine a language which doesn't have a scope. Yeah, it's kind of odd. It is kind of a weird thing. Those compilation times of Go are so sweet, but then it's so goddamn opinionated. You can't have your cake and eat it too, you know? Bob, it's been a week of daily Rust. Thoughts on it so far? Seems like a great language, but very steep learning curve. So I basically have just confirmed what other people have probably already been saying. But that's basically how it feels. Is like it feels like it's a really nice language. It seems like it really pushes you towards success. The compiler is very helpful. It's very informative, but there is definitely a steeper learning curve. Like compared to learning Go, compared to learning Rust, Rust feels like a steeper curve. But I think everyone I've heard talk about learning Rust has said that. So I don't think I'm saying anything particularly unique. I think ownership is just a huge. Yeah, exactly. That I think that's probably the part that's the most odd. Like, especially when you make a change and then you start having to read all these errors that are like use of a moved variable, right? It's like, and you're like trying to trace down where you triggered the move and why the move occurred, right? And then what you can do to get around the fact that the move happened. Have you ever played GTA 5 or any Rockstar games? Yeah, I've played Rockstar games for sure. I didn't play GTA 5 though. The last Rockstar game I think I played was Red Dead, right? Red Dead Redemption 2 was a Rockstar game, I'm pretty sure. I think that was the last Rockstar game I played. Danny, how's it steep? It's just steep in the terms that I've never written much code that dealt with any level of manual memory management, right? So almost all the languages I've written, or all the languages I've written, have always been garbage collected. And so because Rust isn't garbage collected and it relies on this concept of ownership and borrowing to do things in a memory safe way, that's just a brand new world to me. So that's why I say it's a little steep. Yeah, Red Dead was okay. Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 was the last Rockstar game I played then. GTA 5 is written in Python. Is it? What? Is it really? I don't believe that. But you got it, or maybe there's a joke in there I don't get that went over my head. Damn, Red Dead Redemption 2, peak for real. I mean, how could you not? Red Dead Redemption is probably one of the better video games in the last 20 years. To me, Red Dead Redemption 2 ranks right up there with like Halo 3 in terms of just like, and Skyrim, like video games that are sort of defining video games in my life. Diddley. Red Dead was the shit. Red Dead was the shit. Diddley, thanks for being a member, by the way. You got to take care of your own garbage. You do have to take care of your own garbage. Yes, indeed, you do. All right, I think I can kind of scan through this function thing. So we know how to define functions. We've written several functions. Functions can have parameters, which is great. The keyword for declaring a new function in Rust is what? It's fn. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed. It does not compile. Sorry, does not compile. Statements and expressions. Function bodies are made up of a series of statements, optionally ending in an expression. Let's look at some examples. So let y equals x. That's a statement, right? Yeah, it's a statement. Yep, okay. Let y equals 6 statement does not return a value, so there isn't anything for x to bind to. This is different from what happens in other languages such as C and Ruby, where the assignment returns the value of the assignment. Expressions evaluate to a value and make up most of the rest of the code that you'll write in C. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. This block, like you can just declare arbitrary scope or block of code. It's kind of interesting. Functions can have return values to the code that calls them. We don't name return values, but we must declare their type after an arrow. You can return early from a function by using the return keyword and specifying a value, but most functions return the last expression implicitly. This is one thing, Bob, you were asking about Rust. This is the one thing about Rust that I've kind of not cared for from a syntactic perspective. To me, this implicit return. And I think that's purely because I've always favored an explicit return when writing code. So this seems kind of counter to what I've done historically as a programmer. But I'm adapting to it, right? I'm getting used to it. Oh yeah, I remember getting my Xbox 360 and Halo 3 for Christmas. Good times. Oh, for sure, man. Halo 3 was peak, man. Peak. I mean, I loved all the Halo games. But yeah, hey, nothing can touch Halo 3. I still am kind of pissed at the developers of Halo that they never have done a proper battle royale version of Halo. That still really hacks me off. I don't know why they've been so obstinate to do that. I just think that would be I think so many people would love that experience, but they've been so obstinate about it. It's really really frustrating. Let's see, Mark. Can I get a piece of advice on being good? It is my first job as a web dev, so I'm only at a company for 4 months now. And have you ever been annoyed by client imaginary demands? Yes, dude. First off, I don't know if I have advice on being good because I don't even know if I'm necessarily good. But managing client demands, it just sucks. Like it just sucks, man. Clients are difficult. It's the worst part about having a business is often the customers. Like that, I mean, it just or at least not all customers. It's like needy, problematic customers. That's like the one of the worst parts. I think the best way to deal with it though, if clients have unrealistic demands, like I in personal training, I used to get this a lot where clients would want to lose like 50 pounds in 5 weeks, right? Or I want to bench 300 pounds in 6 weeks, right? And they're starting from like zero in both cases. You just have to do your best to try to meet the clients where they are and try to be super empathetic and kind and understand that they just don't have all the context or the understanding that you probably do. And just try to speak to them in a very calm, understanding, professional way. I mean, you're always going to have those asshole clients who are just difficult to be difficult. But I think most human beings, if you take the time to try to explain things to them and walk them through the situation and the limitations, I think most people are fairly receptive. Welcome to the club. Clients suck. The implicit return becomes really pretty for one-liners. Yeah, I guess I can see the syntactic sugar it offers, but the in big methods or methods that are more than 3 or 4 lines, I don't know. It seems when you're scanning through code, like trying to figure out where exactly or what exactly is being returned, I think takes a little bit of training of your eyes if you're not used to it. What even happened with the last Halo that everyone just stopped playing it? Yeah, Halo, the big large multiplayer game. I forget the name of it, but yeah, they shut it down or they stopped development of it. They should have done a BR, man. They should have done a battle royale. I never understood what the hell went down with it. It was a big hype then dead. I mean, it was a decent game, but like that's not the style of game people want to play nowadays. Like people want to play BRs, they want to play extraction shooters. They don't they don't want to just play giant multiplayer matches. Curly potato. Oh well, it's time to get back to work. It was nice seeing you all. Hopefully I can catch some more streams later this week. Yeah, man, have a good rest of your day. Thanks for spending your lunch break with us. Super kind of you. Clients think we're some kind of wizards. Yeah, they often it's not even so much though. I think it's sometimes there are I'm not going to say there are clients that are pains in the asses. But I think sometimes clients don't even realize that they're being unrealistic because they just don't know, right? They don't understand the constraints. Bob Knoll, the implicit return is weird, but it's handy when you get to chaining methods on iterators. Okay, I haven't got to that point yet, so maybe my opinion will change. What I enjoy clients saying, I will use AI to build this and that, then later on they call you to debug when reality hits. Yeah, yeah. Oh, this whole AI thing, man. I think I might I think I might add an AI counter to the stream, and so every time I say AI, we might we need to add like a counter or an alert. But yeah, this AI conversation is just such a pain. Have you tried Rustlings? I have not. It's on the list though. We're gonna try to get through this Rust programming language book, and then we're gonna give Rustlings a go. But I've heard good things about Rustlings. When I started with C#, I put dynamic for every variable I declared. Nice. Yeah, I mean that's one way to do it. That's kind of the dynamic. What's the other one? There's dynamic and there's object. Both of those are sort of like the TypeScript ini equivalents. Mark, okay, I'll take care of that. Yeah, on that limitations part, sometimes I'm also having a hard time explaining it. So that just, I think, takes practice, Mark, right? Because the same conversation, you're probably going to have the similar conversations multiple times over. And so just finding a way to explain limitations or concepts that are maybe technical in nature in a way that non-technical folk pick it up and understand it. That's just, I think, a skill or a muscle. And once you have a few of those conversations and you figure out what landed versus what didn't land, right? You get better at it. Like I used to always have to explain to a lot of women clients in personal training that like you can't do what we call spot reduction. Like you can't remove fat from one specific area of your body. It's just not the way fat loss works, right? There aren't exercises that like target fat loss in a specific. That was a conversation I had 100 times, and you eventually figure out a way to explain it in a way that's helpful and resonates, and that they understand. Let's build the counter in Rust. Oh, I would probably just use something in my existing software stack than have to rebuild it myself. I think I think StreamerBot has the ability to listen to your voice and run actions in response to voice commands. So I'd probably just do something in there like that. Every time I say AI, increase the counter. Good morning, Artwork Studios. I realized I switched back to the book, and now I have not done anything with the book, so we're going back to the chatting scene. Super tired as of today. Was the start of my second year. Everyone in the classroom was so quiet and well behaved. Yeah, probably because everybody's feeling it out, right? Everyone's trying to get a gist for how strict is this year going to be. Rustlings was good for me to just keep referencing the book and just figure stuff out while not feeling like actually learning, understanding ownership. Yeah, I think that would be perfectly fine to do. I mean, we're trying to do a little bit of that where we're building that application and then we're reading the book and we're doing a little bit of both, but I don't think I need to add a third thing in quite yet. Oh, we have a lurker activated. Nice. I like it. Abdul, bro, I wish I could be as chill as you when learning. I don't know if I'm chill, but yeah, I'm not really in a hurry. There's no reason to be in a hurry. I've got at least 20 years or 30 years of work left. So there's no it's all hurry up and wait. I mean, basically at this point, the only thing I need to keep doing is keep earning money so that I can keep building my retirement account. So in the meantime, I might as well enjoy myself. Yeah. What's the book title name? The Black Elephant. The book is called the Rust programming language, and I'm using this particular version of the book which has some interactive quizzes in it. There's a version of it that doesn't have the interactivity to it, but this one does. So that's why I'm using this particular variant. So I'll just link it to you in the chat. Let's see. Here you go. I almost sent that to everybody. Hold on one sec. There you are. Your situation is 10x better than me. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely in a fortunate position where I already have a job, right? I'm not trying to get a job. Rustling's helped me ask the right questions for ownership stuff. Nice. Well, hopefully it'll do the same for me. You know, hopefully it'll do the same for me. Yeah, like this. See, this is kind of weird. I mean, I get it, but this is kind of weird. Yeah, it's also weird that like the semicolon, right? Like if the semicolon's present, it breaks everything. But if the semicolon's not present, that's something I tripped over about 10 times already. All right, in Rust, a curly brace block like this is an expression, a statement, a syntactic scope. It is 1 and 3. Yeah, 1 and 3. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed. Okay, so we got y. Y starts as 1. Y gets incremented. This is a block that's evaluated and then passed to F. So this will pass 2 to F, and then 2 will get incremented by 1. So F will return 3. So I think it does compile. And I think it outputs 3. Yes, cool. So I grokked that a little bit. Let's see, we've got comments. I don't think we need to spend too much time on comments. That's pretty self-explanatory. Let's see, control flow. The ability to run some code depending on whether the condition is true. Okay, if statements. We've worked with those. Multiple conditions with if else, easy enough there. I think this is weird. Because if is an expression, we can use it on the left. This is to make up for the lack of ternary, right? Does Rust have a ternary operator? Let's see. Rust ternary operator. That's the one thing I really missed in Go when we were learning Go. Rust does have a dedicated C-style ternary operator. Instead, does not. Okay, so it's like Go. It doesn't have a ternary operator. I kind of like a ternary. Let's see. Executing these two pieces of code results in the same value for x. Let's see. If condition 1, else 2. Yes, it results in the same value. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed. X is 1. I don't think this compiles. Yeah, it doesn't compile. Repetition with loops. It's often useful to execute a block of code more than once for this task. Rust provides several loops, which will run through the code instead, or inside the loop body to the end, and then start immediately back at the beginning. Rust has 3 kinds of loops: loop, while, and for. So loop is how you do an infinite. Okay. One of the uses for loop is to retry an operation you know might fail, such as checking whether a thread has completed its job. You might also need to pass the result of that operation out of the loop to the rest of your code. To do this, you can add the value you want returned after the break expression you use to stop the loop. That value will be returned out of the loop so you can use it as shown here. Oh, that's interesting. So you don't just break out of the loop, you can also break with a return value. That's kind of nice. You can also return from inside a loop. While break only exits the current loop, return always exits the current function. Okay, yep, that seems normal. Okay, loop labels to disambiguate between multiple loops. Okay, so we've got labels, nice. Conditional loops with while, so we can have a while loop. Seems pretty straightforward. Looping through collections, how do we loop through collections? We use the for in, we already used that. We used that actually yesterday. Okay. Let's see, start. True, false. This code will terminate. That is, it will not loop forever. Oh, goodness. So we have a label A. This loop will run forever. X is incremented by 1 on every iteration. We have a loop labeled B. It will run forever, and it checks to see if X is greater than 10. And if it is greater than 10, we continue to A. Else we break out of B. Okay, this is some really fucked up code, but okay, so let's think through this for a second. So so I think it will exit. I think it will terminate. So basically the idea here is we continue back to the top of A basically 10 times. Then after that, we break out of B. Or not continue to A. We continue. Oh yeah, we do. We continue to the top of A. So I think it does terminate. But that's some dumbass code. Determine whether the program will pass the compiler. If it passes, write the expected output of the program if it were executed. So we have for X in A, sum. Let's see. I think that's going to compile. And I think it's going to return 15. Let's see. Okay, so you can either retry the quiz or see the correct answers. I'd like to see the correct answers. So it does exit. Oh, wow, I got this one wrong, huh? For X in A, the output of this program will be 50? Oh shit. Because this is saying give me array with 10 elements and each element is 5. And I read it as an array with 2 elements, 5 and 10. That's my bad. All right, now we've gotten to the behemoth section of the book. Let me catch up with you guys. I've been kind of ignoring you so I can make a little bit of progress. Danny, damn, am confused. Yeah, so that one got me. That was a little tricky one they threw in there. That was kind of tricky. Yeah, that array syntax was a little tricky. Yeah, this is like filling an array with 10 fives, not an array that has an element 5 and an element 10. That was a little tricky. Hey, what's up, crew? Good to see you, man. I did not understand that one with the semicolon either. Yeah, the semicolon's kind of tricky. It's just a way to initialize an array where you can give it a set length or a set capacity, right? And then you can also populate what those values should be. Wanta, how's it going? I'm here after a long time. It was a busy week. Well, good to see you, Wanta. I hope your week was good busy, not bad busy. Bob Knoll does not have ternary operators, but you can do inline if else statements, so same effect. Yeah, it's the same effect, but it's not as readable in my opinion, Bob. I feel like the ternary makes much more concise and readable code if you're just needing to do a conditional assignment or a conditional conditional assignment, which is to me 90% of the reasons you use a ternary. Danny, you see yourself becoming a Rust developer in the future? No, I don't really. The only languages I have a desire to work with professionally right now are C# and TypeScript. Maybe Go. Maybe I'd add Go to that list. But right now I'm very happy with working in TypeScript and C#. Yeah, that's the thing. That's exactly what that syntax is doing. Give me X amount of Y. Exactly. I think the first one will exit immediately if I'm not mistaken. I don't think so, but maybe. Oh, well, yeah, I guess if X is not greater than 10, we break. And then, yeah, so maybe you are right. It does probably exit immediately. All right, we're all caught up. All right, we're going to talk about ownership. We're going to try to see if we can't understand what this whole ownership thing's about. All right, ownership in Rust's is most unique feature and has deep implications for the rest of the language. It enables Rust to make memory-safe guarantees without needing a garbage collector. So it's important to understand how ownership works. In this chapter, we'll talk about ownership as well as several related features, borrowing, slices, and how Rust lays out data in memory. Also, I drank the last of my first coffee, and I don't think this is the right time to be learning without a cup of coffee. So I'm gonna get a cup of coffee, and then we'll do the ownership stuff. Let's see if it's as good as the Let's Get Rusty video I watched earlier. It's probably not as good, if I had to guess. But oftentimes books sometimes are better to explain complex topics. But sometimes videos are too. I don't know. It's all contextual. I think it more has to do with the person teaching the concept than it does how the concept is presented, like, or what medium it's presented in. I'd like David Malin. Do you guys know who David Malin is? I'd like David Malin to create a Rust course. I think he'd teach it really well. Seems like he can break down things into very understandable, bite-sized pieces of information. I like short and straight up information. That's totally fair. Yeah, you got to find what works for you. All right, I'm gonna get coffee. I'll be right back. BRB.
Did we just become best friends?
All right, what did I miss? Oh, we got some lurkers. I like it. Lurking activated. Light Aurora, thanks for following the channel. It's very kind of you, even while I wasn't even in my chair. Very generous. All right, we're gonna try to figure out how ownership works. All right. Ownership is a discipline for ensuring the safety of Rust programs. To understand ownership, we first need to understand what makes a Rust program safe. This would be good. Safety is the absence of undefined behavior. Safety is the absence of undefined behavior. That's interesting. Okay. We can make this program unsafe to execute by moving the call to read before the definition of X. We can make this program unsafe to execute by moving the call to read before the definition of X. Why though? Oh no, X isn't defined. Oh, okay, yep, okay, now I'm following. No, in this chapter we will use many code examples that do not compile. Make sure to look for the question mark crab if you are not sure whether a program should compile or not. This second program is unsafe because readX expects X to have a value of type bool, but X doesn't have a value yet. When a program like this is executed by an interpreter, then reading X before it's defined would raise an exception, such as Python's name error or JavaScript's reference error. But exceptions come at a cost. Each time an interpreted program reads a variable, then the interpreter must check whether that variable is defined. Rust's goal is to compile the programs into efficient binaries that require as few runtime checks as possible. Therefore, Rust does not check at runtime whether a variable is defined before being used. Instead, Rust checks at compile time. If you try to compile the unsafe program, you will get this error. You probably have the intuition that it's good for Rust to ensure that variables are defined before they are used, but why? To justify the rule, we have to ask what would happen if Rust allowed a rejected program to compile. Let's see, how safe the program compiles and executes. On a computer with a processor using x86 architecture, Rust generates the following assembly code for the main function in the safe program. If you aren't familiar with assembly code, that's okay. This section contains a few examples of assembly just to show you how Rust actually works under the hood. You don't generally need to know assembly to understand Rust. I don't know assembly. Hello, unknown reason. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by again. Welcome to the stream. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Code, Coffee, and Chat, live from Stephen Freeborn's basement. Powered by caffeine. I don't know assembly, so I don't know what this means. The assembly code will move the number 1 representing true into a register, a kind of assembly variable called EDI. Call the read function, which expects its first argument y to be in the EDI register. If the unsafe function was allowed to compile, its assembly might look like this. This program is unsafe because read will expect EDI to be a Boolean, which is either the number 0 or 1, but EDI could be anything, 2, 100, some gobbledygook. When read wants to use its argument y for any purpose, it will immediately cause undefined behavior. So this is like a big thing. Undefined behavior. You're vibing? Yes, we are vibing here as well. We're vibing, and we're trying to learn how ownership works in Rust. So welcome in. Rust doesn't specify what happens if you try to run if y when y isn't true or false. That behavior, or what happens after executing the instruction, is undefined. Something will happen. For example, the code executes without crashing. No one notices a problem. The code immediately crashes due to a segmentation fault or another kind of operating system error. The code executes without crashing until a malicious actor creates the right input to delete your production database, overwrite your backups, steal your lunch money. Man, we're spiraling here. We're spiraling. A foundational goal of Rust is to ensure that your programs never have undefined behavior. I feel like that should be a main goal of any program you write, but I understand what they're saying here is they're saying Rust is trying to build that into the language itself. But I think that's probably like anytime you're not sure what to do when you're writing a program, that's basically an example, in my opinion, of undefined behavior. And so you should probably assert against it or deal with it in some very loud, noisy way. But I like that Rust is kind of trying to bake that into the language itself. Undefined behavior is especially dangerous for low-level programs with direct access to memory. That makes sense. About 70% of reported security vulnerabilities in low-level systems are caused by memory corruption, which is one form of undefined behavior. Energy Star. I want to have a pointer print out an address with the word beef in it. Cloudflare outage caused by an unwrap. Yes, I saw that, which is kind of crazy, right? It makes you wonder. I don't know. It makes you wonder, should Rust have ever allowed that? Because the moment you allow people to do unwrap, right? Like maybe Rust shouldn't have done that. Maybe Rust shouldn't have given you a release valve to get at something unsafely. It's Rust's rite of passage. Oblivious. Python is a permanent hunt for edge cases. My take is that just by noticing how few undefined behaviors there are in Python, the more experience that coder has. Yeah. I mean, I would say I would say just in general, like a software development professional. I don't even think they need to necessarily be an engineer, but I think thinking about edge cases, thinking about exceptional cases, thinking about, do we have all the behaviors defined, right? I think is a very good indication of how long someone's been doing the work, how good they are at thinking about those things. Does reading docs ever get less boring? Not really. Not really. I mean, but I don't find reading docs terribly boring if I really want to understand this. So I'm trying to really grok what it is they're saying. Like I really do want to understand ownership. I don't want ownership to be this mysterious thing that people talk about in Rust, and then I'm over here saying, well, I know how to write Rust, but I can't really explain ownership. So I really am trying to internalize what I'm reading. Which in those cases docs aren't boring to me. I think docs are boring whenever you're trying to sift through, hundreds of pages of information to find that one answer to your question. which is where LLMs really shine, right? LLMs can get you right to the thing you need from a mess of docs really quickly. C wasn't instantly adapted neither, and then they had to work on it still. Exceptions in C++ are still not allowed in certain systems because they're deemed unsafe. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about C or C++. So when you guys talk about it, I just have to basically be like, cool, interesting. A secondary goal of Rust is to prevent undefined behavior at compile time. Instead of runtime, this goal has two motivations. Catching bugs at compile time means avoiding those bugs in production, improving the reliability of your software. Catching bugs at compile time means fewer runtime checks for those bugs, improving the performance of your software. Rust cannot prevent all bugs. If an application exposes a public and unauthenticated endpoint, then a malicious actor doesn't need a suspicious if statement to delete the database. But Rust protections are still likely to make programs safer versus using a language with fewer protections, e.g., as found by Google's Android team. Okay, interesting. Since safety is the absence of undefined behavior, and since ownership is about safety, then we need to understand ownership in terms of the undefined behavior it prevents. The Rust reference maintains a large list of behavior considered undefined. For now, we will focus on one category, operations on memory. Wonderful. I didn't really use it, but for example, NASA and Army have their own rules about it where literally things like exceptions and try catch are straight up banned because the unhandled error could cause a crash of a plane or similar. Ooh, yeah, that doesn't seem like a good thing. Yeah, I think NASA has a bunch of interesting programming and coding edicts, right? Like you can't use recursion. I don't think NASA allows people to use recursion in their code, which is probably a good thing to pay attention to as a developer, right? If like the people that are building planes and spaceships are doing things for safety reasons in their code, probably wouldn't be bad for us to adopt those same practices to some extent. I don't know all the things, but there are many features like this. Yeah, makes sense. Probably good to better safe than sorry in those situations. I wouldn't want a plane falling out of the sky because of a try catch. So unwrap has its place. Yeah, I guess it does, but it does make you think. It is one of those times where it's like, well, if unwrap wasn't there though, there would be no temptation to call unwrap, right? You would just have to deal with the lack of it. Because I think I don't know, anytime you give human beings the path of least resistance, they're gonna pick it. It's just how it is. Yeah, human nature, exactly. Duck Boy, not less boring than writing docs. Yeah, yeah. That writing docs is for LLMs now. I mean, LLMs really make it possible to sort of somewhat realize using your source code as the single source of truth, right? I mean, they really do. I mean, I know there are tools and stuff that let you generate docs from your source code, but now LLMs allow you to do even more, right? Um, so yeah, LLMs for the win when it comes to documentation. And this is what I mean by Rust's rite of passage, where we just don't have those experiences of critical failures to make stricter guidelines. That's fair. Rampla, how do I explain you not wanting to depend only on AI? Morning, by the way. Well, morning to you too, Rampla. I guess how do I explain this? Yeah, the path of least resistance. Yeah, path of least resistance. Human beings always pick the path of least resistance. It's just in our nature. Let's see, not wanting to depend only on AI. Yeah, I think the way to explain it is we're basically running like a large experiment right now. right? We don't know what happens to developers and engineers when they use LLMs to build things for 40 hours a week, and what that results in terms of their abilities, both cognitively and physically. And so I wonder, I just don't know if I want to be a part of the experiment. I think maybe I'll let other people do that experiment and then see what happens on the other side. um, no, I think a lot of my anxiety about using LLM to write code recently is just about, I think it obfuscates what my true abilities are as a programmer or a developer when I'm constantly just relying on AI to come up with solutions and implement solutions and tabbing my way through things. Um, and I think advent of code really cemented that experience because I hadn't felt so connected to my abilities as a programmer and as a developer in a while than I did when I was doing advent of code, because I wasn't using any AI to solve those solutions. Um, so yeah, I think I'm not. It's not that I'm not going to use AI. It's just I just don't want AI in my editor anymore. I'm okay with using AI to rubber duck. I'm okay with using AI to ideate, to chat with, but I just don't want it in my I don't want it in my editors. At least for right now. You want to be able to count for yourself and not depend on a calculator only, something like that. Yeah, exactly, Rampla. Yeah, exactly like that. And I understand that that's going to mean that it's difficult for me to keep up with the productivity of other developers who do use these tools, and I'm okay with that. Right now, I don't have anybody breathing down my neck saying you must be 10x faster. I don't have anyone doing that. I know there are developers who are getting that pressure, but I'm not. AI is awesome to research. Yes, AI is very very helpful. LLMs are very helpful pieces of technology. Also, Energy Star, I must say thank you for being such a active and engaged chatter over there in Twitch. You're kind of holding it down for the whole Twitch stream, so appreciate you. Ownership as a discipline for memory safety. Since safety is the absence of undefined behavior, and since ownership is about safety, then we need to understand ownership in terms of the undefined behavior it prevents. Okay, we already read that. Okay, memory is the space where data is stored during the execution of a program. There are many ways to think about memory. If you are unfamiliar with systems programming, you might think of memory at a high level like memory is the RAM in my computer, or memory is the thing that runs out if I load too much data. If you are familiar with systems programming, you might think of memory at a low level, like memory is an array of bytes, or memory is the pointers I get back from malloc. Both of these memory models are valid, but they are not useful ways to think about how Rust works. The high-level model is too abstract. The high-level model is too abstract to explain how Rust works. You will need to understand the concept of a pointer, for instance. The low-level model is too concrete to explain how Rust works. Rust does not allow you to interpret memory as an array of bytes, for instance. Rust provides a particular way to think about memory. Ownership is a discipline, discipline for safely using memory within that way of thinking. The rest of this chapter will explain the Rust model of memory. All right, here we go. Here's a program like the one you saw in section 3.3. That defines a number of n and calls a function plus 1 on n. Beneath the program is a new kind of diagram. This diagram visualizes the contents of memory during the program's execution at the 3 marked points. Okay, so at point 1, we have a variable n storing the value of 5 on the stack. At point 2, because we called plus 1 and we passed in, we have the main scope, which has the value in, or the variable in holding the value of 5 on the stack. And then we have the plus 1 scope, which declares a variable 5 that holds the value, or declares a variable x that holds the value 5. Then on point 3, I guess when we return from that call, now the stack has a variable in, which is 5, and a y variable that is value 6. Variables live in frames. A frame is a mapping from variables to values within a single scope, such as a function. So this is a frame. This is a frame. And these are frames. Okay. Stack frames. Frames are organized into a stack of currently called functions. For example, at L2, the frame for main sits above the frame for the called function plus 1. After the function returns, Rust deallocates the function's frame. Deallocation is also called freeing or dropping, and we use those terms interchangeably. This sequence of frames is called a stack because the most recent frame added is always the next frame freed. Yeah, stack, last in, first out, right? Okay, note this memory model does not fully describe how Rust actually works. As we saw earlier with assembly code, the Rust compiler might put in or X into a register rather than a stack frame, but that distinction is an implementation detail. It shouldn't change your understanding of safety in Rust. So we can focus on the simpler case of frame-only variables. They probably had to add this note because somebody came in and read these docs and was like, actually... somebody actually... Gun Highs. Hello, Gun. How are you? Thanks for being a member, man. Good to see you again. I hate YouTube chat. Really? Damn. Okay. Coming in hot. Very opinionated. You're twitching. You're a twitcher for life, huh? I don't mind YouTube chat myself, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. Hi. Thank you too. I'm great. How about you? I'm doing well. Yeah, we're trying to understand. Ownership in Rust this morning. Which actually, now that it's 6 o'clock, we might pause this and we might try to write some Rust code. Energy Star. I just don't like certain things about YouTube. That's fair. Yeah, man. It's your life. You live it. You live it how you want to live it. I'm not going to dictate how you live it. Very nice. So much progress then? We're making progress. We are making progress. Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. I guess my progress is always slow because I'm restricting myself to only work on this stuff during the stream. So I guess the progress is kind of slow generally. Born to Shine. Hello, good morning, Born to Shine. Thanks for being a member. Hey, am I late? Good morning to y'all. You are not late. We have about an hour of stream left, so we're going to switch over and we're going to try to add some more functionality to our application. So you're right on time, man. All you've really missed this morning has been a lot of chat and me reading a book. So you're good. I love your progress because your progress is real, not focused on AI teachings only. So very nice. Well, thank you. Yes, my progress is very much what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get. All right. What do we want to do? So let's go ahead and run the app real quick so we can see where we are. I think what we're going to do is we're going to try to get this tabbed UI working in the context of the rest of the application, right? So this is hard coded right now, but what we need to do is we need to render this out when we open a new file, right? So if I open a file, let's say I open, let's just do new text document. That. So if I open this guy up, we can see the path gets set down here correctly, but we didn't add a new tab up here. And so what we'd like to do is when we open a file, we should be able to see it. Oops, sorry, that's not what I meant to do. We should be able to see it up here so that we can change between it, right? So let's see if we can figure out how to accomplish that. Okay, that's what we're gonna try to do. Windows plus C plus 1? What does that mean? In Tontai? Although I'll be like most aggressive developers are, you should switch to C Sharp, bro. Dude, C Sharp is the best. Sagara Moncom. Yeah, vibe coding. There's no vibe coding happening over here. There's very little vibe coding that occurs on this channel. I wouldn't say I'm anti-vibe coding, I'm just not an enjoyer of vibe coding. What's up, BJ? How are you? Nice username, by the way. Yes, let's write some Rust code. Been learning Rust for a while. I dropped it a few weeks ago, but I'm back again. Well, that's what I'm doing. So we're gonna try to learn some Rust. Sock pasta rock. I'm all in on vibe coding. I say more power to you, man. More power to you. You'll never find me. If you found something you enjoy doing and you're loving it, go for it. Ig Tontai. I just discovered the hotkey. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't enter hotkeys for. I don't enter people's hotkeys from chat anymore because the last time I did it, I ended up closing the stream. All right, so we basically need to build up this list of vectors. Every time we interact with a path, we need to build up that list. So let's go back down to our update function. Update. And so we have edit, that's fine. We have file action selected. Okay, so when we do this, we should capture that. So this should actually be a body. And so what should happen is we should say let path equals save file as. And we're going to pass this over here. Why does it keep, it's like removing my state.content.txt. Then this is going to be that. So we're going to set the path to this. I think that's what we're going to do. But we definitely need to collect the path. So we're going to say files dot. How do we add something to a list? So let's say add item to vector in Rust. Energy Star, that keyboard sounds nice. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I love this keyboard. This is it's not really that fancy. It was like a $60 keyboard I got on Amazon. It's called a Yunzi. Here's what it looks like. They have different colors and stuff. It's a Yunzi. Excuse me. Yunzi B75 Pro is the model. I have no idea exactly what the keys are. I just know it's gasket mounted. It's a 75% layout. That's kind of what I look for in keyboards these days. Gasket mounted, 75% layout. Dakara code. Do you guys believe me? Vibe coding is boring and there's no fun in that world. I use AI for repetitive tasks, and in that process, I feel boring. Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you, Dakara code. I think I'm sort of no numpad is a big turnoff. Really? Use numpads? No, thank you, sir. I do not need a numpad on my keyboard. I'm not an accountant. I don't know what you use a number pad for. Yeah, Dakara code, I'm kind of with you on that. I'm just not a big vibe coder. But I see people who are really enjoying it and loving it and are leaning into it. And I know there's a big push right now in sort of the software engineering education space where people are basically saying software engineers need to lean more into being like shepherds of agents than what they would traditionally do in their role as software engineers and as software engineers. And I'm just not I'm not about that life currently. And I'm not about that life because I think that it's not valid. I'm not about that life because I just don't enjoy it. I'm not an accountant, but when I have to insert a whole IP address or something, numpad is much nicer. Yeah, I guess not for me. I'm not a 10 key guy. You know, I never learned how to use a 10. I never learned how to type on a 10 key, so just don't really have a need. So I'm a 75% layout user. Descartes, yeah, it's all about that dopamine hit. Yeah, I don't get very much dopamine from vibe coding myself. Duckboy, here we use numpad as natural instinct, and it took a lot of time to get used to not having one. Interesting. I didn't realize numpads were such a thing. But for gaming, 80% is perfect. I don't game on a PC. I just play an Xbox. I'm a console gamer. I'm a 32-year-old dad, I guess. I'm stuck in the console gaming world. I tried being a PC gamer, and it just never takes. Every time I try it, it just never takes. Okay, so I need to append to a vec in Rust. So using methods such as push or extend, vec append also exists specifically for moving elements from one vector into another, leaving the source vector empty. So I want to push, is I think what I want to do. State files push path. All right, let's see if the compiler complains about anything I did. Of course it did. Let's see. Mismatch type. Expected struct file found enum option path buff. Arguments to this method are incorrect. Try wrapping the expression in file. Okay, so that makes sense. So that means we should always set the path, but we're not always necessarily going to add it. Oh yeah, we are always going to add it. So we are going to do file, path. Okay, so then let's try to see how this changes how the editor works. Let's also remove this hard-coded. Cargo run. Hello, sweetheart. Good to see you. I would love to see Tarkov running on a console, turning it into a rocket, but I would prefer it not happening in my house. Yeah, I don't play. I've never been a Tarkov guy. Never been a big Tarkov guy, but I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty satisfied with my console gaming life. So we'll do file, save as, file, test, txt. All right, something. I think I might be stuck in a loop or something. Yeah, that's what I want to happen. So we added this up at the top. That's our tab. So if we were to open another file, right? If we open, let's say, demo, and then we click on this tab, it should load the file. Yeah. So that's what we want, but I'm not sure why. Let's see, another. I'm not sure why that prompted me to save it twice. Another test.txt. Okay, so why is it doing that? Why is it asking me to save it twice? I must have broke something at some point. And then we've got two. So this is another situation we have to fix. So this should not wrap. This should just scroll. It shouldn't overflow. We've got to fix that too. Okay, so why is that happening? Let's fix the first thing. First things first. Why are we getting duplicate prompts to save? Okay, so we have file action save as. Oh, because we're calling it twice. That'll do it. We're calling, okay, so that was a pretty easy fix. We're calling it twice. Value moved here. Consider cloning the value if the performance cost is acceptable. Interesting. I think I need to revisit some of the typing here. I'm just going to clone it, but I think I need to revisit some of the typing because I think I want these actually to be the same thing. But I'm not 100% certain. Okay, so then let's also do it for... Because we have a way to push a file onto our list of files. And we're rendering that out in the view, which is good. Now what we need to do is we need to figure out how we prevent the button from wrapping and how we can truncate it so it scrolls. I don't know how to do that, so we need to figure that out. Where's our button? So we want dot no wrap or wrap style. I don't know how to prevent. Oh, I bet it's here. So let's do dot wrapping. Wrap text wrapping none. We don't want to wrap text there. We also don't need the whole file path, we just need the name. No method name, file name found for reference in the current scope. What do you mean there's no file name there? Oh, there we go. So I want to take OS string to a string string. How do I do that? Oh, because this is an option, right? So how do I say I expect um, I don't know how to deal with all the typings. The trait bound option stir is not satisfied. Let file name equals p.file name. File name is going to get passed here, right? And then file name needs to become something that text understands how to deal with. Right now it's an option of type a reference to an OS stir. And I think what I want is I want a I'm just going to assume that there's always unable to get file name. And so what does that give me? That gives me an OS stir. So how do I go OS stir to a stir? That's some ugly ass code, I have to say. That is some ugly, ugly code. So in order to get a file name from a path buff, I have to go through 2 levels of possible operations that could fail. What a nightmare. Just to get a file name that I can then use for my button text. That sounds awful. Maybe I just into string. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That just sounds. Is there an into string? We can see. That just sounds awful. Dot into. Yeah, I don't. Into what? What does into return? I think that's coming from the ICE library. Yeah, I don't think that's a valid method on there. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably because I just don't know what I'm doing, but but that's ugly. So a standard in Rust is to put the chained functions on an indented new line. Yeah, it's kind of like C# in that way, sort of like a fluent type of syntax. But I don't know. It just looks ugly. Even this looks ugly. I know what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to remove undefined behavior, which I get, but like, damn, is it really so suspicious to try to get the file name from a path? Yeah. I think you just don't need that value there. What library are you using for GUI? I'm using a library called iced.rust, or sorry, iced.rs. Iced.rs is the library I'm using. I guess it's just called iced. So far it's been okay. The best part about the library is this he has this book where he introduces the library. This philosophy. This might be one of the better pieces of writing I've read in a long time. So if you have time, go read this. It's good. All right, let's see what this should now only display the file names for my tabs or for my buttons. They look like buttons right now, but I'm eventually going to make them look like tabs. And then let's do another one. So we'll say to file, save as, tab 2, save. Okay, so this is what we want. So if I do tab text, that's 1, tab 2 is tab 2. Now we can switch back and forth, which is good. The spacing's off here, so we should add some spacing. Or should we add spacing? I don't think we want spacing, right? Notepad doesn't have spacing. They just changed the color of the active tab. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So we'll eventually figure out the styling here. But right now they're just going to look ugly. Now, my application currently, if I open a file, right? So if I open file test, you'll see it does open, but it doesn't set a new tab. And that's because I'm not managing this tab vector properly everywhere. So we need to update the code to handle that. So we'll go down to the update function. And let's see, we have file save as, which should append a file or append a path. We also should have do state.files.push path equals path, that. And that's going to complain because it's moved, so we'll clone this one. Oh, no, we won't. We'll say let path option equals some path. And this will be path option. I think also, instead of keeping track of this separately, I think what we should really be keeping track of is we should be keeping track of whichever index of our files is currently focused or currently loaded, right? So instead of assigning to that path, we should just instead be saying, oh, okay, well, you're currently on, or maybe maybe we're keeping track of the path and then we're indexing into the files. I don't know. Well, we're gonna have to rework that. That's not the right way to do it, though. This is gonna complain because it's moved. We have to clone. Okay. And then we have to do the same thing here, where we're gonna say let path equals save file. There's some code smell happening here. Oh goodness, come on, Steven. Figure out your Vim motions. All right, now all of my file actions now keep track of paths when I open and close them. But the problem is that we're going to end up being able to have duplicated paths is going to be a problem. That's why we need to move to like a hash map or a dictionary or whatever they call it in Rust. Because if we do something like this, and let's say we do control open, right? We do tab 2. So we've got tab 2, which is great. If I do control open tab 1, awesome. I can switch back and forth between these two, great. But if I do tab 1 again, it's going to put another tab in there. Even though these are the same, these are referring to the same exact file, we should dedupe these, right? So that's why we should probably be using something like a dictionary or a hash map or something. I don't know what the Rust equivalent is. So let's figure that out. Rust dictionary. Hold on. C# dictionary equivalent in Rust. Excuse me one sec. Excuse me, sorry, I had something in my throat. Yes, C# is a reference to find information. Yeah, you like that? You like the call out? Grounds for support text to speech not working. Oh, really? Oh no. Let's see. Oh, Bob, I'm sorry. Hold on. It's because I'm not connected to my Tailscale network. That's why. Let me fix that. Let me see. What was your message? Your message. Bob has the best text-to-speech messages. Sorry about that, Bob. Let's see. Man, that's probably a feature I need to add. I need to add the ability to like replay the message. Sorry about that, Bob. Thank you very much for the super chat, man. I wonder, actually, hold on. I wonder if I can trigger the Stripe event to send again from my panel, from my dashboard. Stripe trigger event to send again. To resend a Stripe event, use the Stripe dashboard to click resend on the specific. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I can. Hold on. 1 second, Bob. I will make this right. I will fix this. uh, return to login. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting into my Stripe account. Of course, we need the authenticator, you know, MFA and all that, being secure. This is the first time I've ever done this in Stripe, so forgive me. Let's see, resend events. Let's see, the payment was succeeded. There's one pending webhook. Resend. Huh. I wonder why it's not working. Sorry guys, I'm live troubleshooting my. I have like a donation website that people can buy me a coffee on. It's supposed to send me. Sorry. Oh no, you didn't derail the stream at all, man. I want this to be figured out. Like, I think I take it very seriously when you guys send super chats like that, man. That's something that we should call out on stream for sure. I don't know why though. So the application is running, so that's good. Let's see if it can ping. Yep, it can reach the. It can reach this thing. Oh, I know why. I know why. Hold on, Bob. 1 sec. I know why. It's tripping out because the the payment got persisted into the database, right? But it's basically tripping out because when I resend that event, it's trying to insert it again into the database, and obviously it has a unique ID, so it can't insert it. So I need to actually delete it from my database, my application database. Let's see, CD. It all makes sense now. So let's do SQL, SQLite 3. Select star from payments. That's your payment ID. So we need to say delete where ID equals this. Delete. Hey Abdil, how are you? Payments. What? Why did I get that error? I will not give up on this. We will fix this. Let's see. How do you change the ownership of a directory recursively on Linux? Is it -R? Capital R. -R is how you do it. Okay, now what we need to do is SQLite 3 data. I know this is thrilling. This is thrilling content, but I wanna fix this. So you're stuck, or you can scroll on. One or the other. There we go. SQLite 3 grounds for support. And then we're going to run this query from up here. Okay. Now if we reload this, now Bob's payment should go away. Cool. Now we'll go back to the Stripe dashboard. We'll resend the webhook. Did it still fail? It still failed. So why isn't text-to-speech working? Well, this stream has not become about learning Rust anymore. This stream is about fixing text-to-speech. Are you typing on any other screen? I am typing on another screen. Some of it's stuff I don't really want to show publicly, like my Stripe dashboard and stuff. I don't want to leak secrets accidentally. Let's see. What am I doing in that endpoint that is erroring? Payments, endpoints, events endpoint. So we handle the succeed endpoint. We get the payment intent. We save the payment. So it's not failing here, because if it was failing here, we'd catch it. It's failing somewhere else. I guess let me tail the logs from the from the container. Docker tail logs. So we'll say Docker, or sorry, I got to SSH into that guy. We'll say Docker tail, or sorry, Docker logs -f, and we'll do grounds for support .stephenfreeborn.com. Let's see, failed to trigger text-to-speech. The request was canceled due to the configured HTTP client of 100 seconds elapsing. Streamer bot. So is the server not running? HTTP server? Okay. All right, so I can show this on stream. This is not a big deal. So basically the way my custom text-to-speech stuff works is I have my donation site running on a VPS, and my VPS and my local PC can talk to each other over a Tailscale network. And right now, for whatever reason, I'm not being able to hit that endpoint. So let's go into Bitbastion. That's my VPS. Network device. My device is this guy. Ping. Okay, so that's working. So now can I curl that at port 747? Okay, which means something has changed on this computer. And I'm guessing it's a firewall. So we need to run netsh again. I wonder why that changed though. I wonder why that changed. Net sh. So let's run an elevated terminal. And we are going to say net sh http URL reservation add failed. Cannot create a file when that file already exists. So is the StreamBot server maybe not running? Oh, yeah, the server. Okay, that's silly. Okay, it's not running. That's why. There we go. Okay, that was so silly. All that was just because it wasn't running. So yes, say okay. So we don't close StreamerBot. That would be bad. So all that was to say, so Bob's payment isn't in the database anymore. I'm going to go back to my Stripe dashboard, and we're going to trigger that event.
Hey everybody, groundsforsupport.stephenfreeborn.com has cheap text-to-speech. Come and get you some.
I think you broke it. I think you borked it. Oh my goodness, that's so funny. All right, so okay, now that that's all figured out, sorry about that, guys. That was a complete off topic from Rust, but I take it really seriously when you guys become members or become subscribers or send me super chats. I mean, the fact that y'all would be willing to financially support my content creation on the channel is something I very much appreciate, and I want to make sure that it's called out when we're live. So apologies for that, and apologies, Bob, that I didn't do a good job of making sure that was working before I started streaming. But it is working now. So let's clean up all these tabs that I've got here. Yep, and Bob's payments there, which is good. Clean up that. Clean up this. We don't need that anymore. We have Meld open, StreamerBot's open, we have chat, we have SpeakerBot. We do not need this terminal anymore. Okay, coming back. Thanks for, of course, Bob. Yeah, no, thank you for super chatting, Bob. That makes the streams. That's like I've said this 100 times before. Those super chats are like my most favorite thing on stream. More than anything, it's because of the text to speech. I just think text to speech is so funny. All right, where's Mel? There you go. Okay, we're refocusing. So did I miss anybody else's chat though in all that time? 199 was saying something about game dev short. I feel bad for game devs. Their passions get exploited because there's someone else in line willing to be exploited as well. Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's just such a small world and so many people want to do it, and there's only so many seats, right? So people they're kind of able to get away with it, I guess, the bad treatment in a way because of that. Amba, good morning. Sorry, I missed you arriving. Abdil, sorry, I missed you arriving as well. Sir Gui, hello, Stephen. Good morning. How's the job market in America now? I really. Something. Did my camera just die? What is happening right now? I don't know what's happening. On my end, it looks like my camera died.
Man, I think you bring intelligence to mainstream.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much for the super chat. It's very kind of you. Okay, cool. So everything's back. I was like panicking because Meld Studio on my end froze, and then everything, all my feeds were saying that they weren't receiving the stream anymore. Just reload all this stuff. Yeah, everything was falling apart. It looks okay on my end. I mean, it looks like I don't know. I'm just gonna keep going. I was scared you crash again. Me too. Did the cat eat the motherboard? I don't think so. Now back again. Everything is good. I have no idea what happened. It was like everything came to a grinding halt or something. Something's eating. For whatever reason, Meld Studio is using a lot of CPU usage. I'm not sure why. It's unusually high. All right, we're gonna try to get through. We only have another few minutes of the stream left, but we're gonna try to get through this the best we can. Yeah, it did die. The camera doesn't work. Yeah, the camera I think was frozen. I restarted it. It looks fine now. Windows is doing you dirty? Yeah, probably. I believe a secure shell. It's access the console of another computer over the network. Have you considered using something like this for your streams? I can't see the link, Uncle Pee Wee. Can you replace the dots in your link with like text? Because Twitch just removed it. So Oblivious, you think it was SSH that caused the network lag? Oh, someone asked what SSH was? Yeah. SSH, yeah, secure shell. Alright, give me a sec. I gotta refocus. That was a lot of chaos for 10 minutes there. I gotta refocus for a second. Okay, so we had someone super chat. That was baller. I don't know if I'm bringing intelligence to the mainstream, but I'm trying to do the best I can. Bob Knoll, everything's falling apart. We fixed it. TUIs look so cool. TUIs do look cool. I'm a big fan of the TUI interface. Media MTX on GitHub? I've never heard of that. Media MTX. Ready to use SRT web TRC that allows to read, publish, proxy, record. No, I'm not. I don't know what would this replace. This would replace like OBS, or this would replace Meld Studio, Uncle Pee Wee. I guess is what you're saying. So ready to use zero dependency live media server and media proxy. Huh. I mean, I haven't, and I'm not super interested in like resetting up all my stuff. But I'll definitely keep this in the back of my mind. I think I was in the process of there we go. So stream looks good. Stream health looks good. Twitch looks good. Okay, sorry guys. We were in the process of refactoring our files array to be a dictionary or a hash map instead of a list, is what we were trying to do. Ilmani, did you add anything new? Not particularly. We were basically starting to, and then I got completely derailed with fixing my custom text to speech solution, and then my stream kind of had some technical difficulties, so we got kind of distracted. But I'm going to try to see if I can't convert the files from a file to a hash map. So we're going to do hash map, and this is just going to be option. Can you use option as a key here? Option path buff. Is that valid? Okay, I guess it's valid. And for right now, I'll just have a bool. But I think eventually this is going to be like text editor content, I think is what this is going to be. But for right now, we'll just leave it as a bool. Which then I think means we don't need this struct anymore. At least for right now, we don't need that struct. Now that's going to make a bunch of places in our code angry. So then the idea here becomes we can do this and then set that to true. Mismatch type. Files dot keys clear get remove retain shrink. How do I don't really know how to use a hash map in Rust yet. So basically what I want to do is I want to set that value. So if I do this, okay, and then that means I don't really need to clone this then. And then same thing here, I think, right? So I can just do that, and then I can do this, which means we don't need to clone that. We don't need to clone this one either. Path option. Trait index mut is required to modify index content, but is not implemented for hash map. So how come that works? Oh, that wasn't the right approach. So why does that work? Okay. So why is that okay to do here, but when I try to do it up here, it doesn't like it? Okay, so what's this error telling me? Cannot assign to data in an index of hash map op path. Trait index mut is implemented is required. Use insert to insert a value. Oh. Okay. Maybe I just need to read the error. Use insert. So this would be path, and this would be true. As you can tell, I'm a very experienced Rust user. There we go. Okay, so then we're gonna do this is now a tuple. So we want file dot 0 dot path. Okay. I think that made everybody happy. So if there's a file path, then we get the file path. All right. So what the whole point of this, if you're like sitting there wondering what the fuck is this guy doing, the whole point of this is so that we. Oh, Bob said maybe just insert. Bob knew what was wrong before I knew what was wrong. The whole point of this is so that we don't have duplicate files in our state. That's basically the whole reason. So this way, if I open up this file, right, and then if I try to open that file again, we're not going to duplicate the tab, right? So now if I do open another test, so now we have two tabs or two buttons, and we can switch back and forth like this, like that, which is what we want. This is the experience we were trying to go for. Now we need to implement some like styling so that this makes sense, because right now it's not clear which file I'm on, and there's a whole bunch of UI stuff here. But we should be able to then, let's see, we should be able to save as. Let's call this tab 3.txt. And let's do another one. Control Shift S. Tab 4. Let's do another. Basically, I'm trying to add enough tabs so that this runs out of room. So right now you can see I'm not handling the fact that like this should scroll, right? These tabs should scroll. So I need to figure out how to, when the container gets too small, I want to basically display a button on the left side, and I want to display a button on the right side that are essentially arrows, right? That do this, right? And allow me to cycle through the tabs. So that's what we'll try to do tomorrow. It's 7:10, which means my YouTuber costume must come off and my work costume must go on. So I appreciate you guys putting up with a little bit of the hot mess stream towards the end there. What are you gonna do, right? It's like sometimes shit happens. All right, regular wrap up. Here we go, chat. Thanks for hanging out on stream with me this morning. I think there's like 30 of us still here, which is awesome. SSH, sometimes shit happens. Sometimes shit does happen. But Bob, thank you very much for giving me a super chat today, or otherwise I would have never realized that my text to speech was broken. So thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. All right, so if you're new here and you want to hang out with me or chat outside of the stream, the best place to find us is our Discord. So I'll just pop that link into the chat down below. It's just discord.stephenfreeborn.com. That's the best place to find us. If you want to come back and hang out with us on another live stream, the best place to find me on a live stream is between 4:15 and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'll just pop that schedule into the chat as well, so that if you'd like to come back and hang out with us, we'd love to have you. It's always nice to see familiar faces. But no pressure. No pressure to join the Discord. No pressure to come back. Duck Boy, well, finishing some docs. The nighttime soccer match here. Have a good day, everybody. You too, Duck Boy. Have fun at soccer. Sounds like a blast. Have fun competing. All right, I'm going to go through and say goodbye to all the people that are in chat recently. Duck Boy, have a good day. Bob Knoll, thanks, man. Appreciate you so much. 99 Oblivious, thanks for being here. Ilmani, you the man. Uncle Pee Wee, thanks for the recommendation on Media. Media MTX, I'll take a look at that. Crew, if you're still here, good to see you. Aerobic, appreciate you chilling. Funny and insightful, appreciate the super chat. That was very kind. I think that's everybody. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'm going to go work. It's Monday. I got to go to work. Boo. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Bye, chat. Bye. See you guys. Have a good day. Really appreciate you.